Welcome everyone to a new update, and today we're going to discuss what altcoins should be doing from here and what you should do with your altcoins in general, because most of you that came into the markets have been FOMOing into altcoins that were quite high. Some subjects, Holo token, Dent, Verasity as well. And you can see that when the chart is vertical, usually they'll come down heavily to the levels that they didn't have a test on yet. Next to that, you can see that being in small altcoins is nice on the upside, as you can gain much potential and profits as well. But on the downside, it also goes down way heavier than when you're in top projects or higher projects, higher value projects like Ethereum, Cardano and Chainlink. So we're going to look into those altcoins and a few of those charts in which you can see the phenomenal feature of the markets right now, in which a few months ago everybody wanted to have specific altcoins like Dent and Holo token, but right now there's literally no hype regarding altcoins. Nobody is actually interested in them, meaning that we might actually have great opportunities for altcoins because you are all not interested in them, or you are crying given the losses that you are having. So first of all, risk management is super important. Second is your entry is also very important, and we're going to check out a few of those altcoins. But first, do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like the YouTube video beneath, and comment if you want to see some special content. Then let's look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, in which we have described this probable scenario on a dominance chart a while ago, in which we can see that we've had a bounce up on higher low, but it's not a tradable asset, so I would not be putting too much on that. But overall, the very important level is the 50% point here, which has been an area of action in the previous periods. It's also very much reliable on Ethereum in general. You can see that we have been acting quite severe here. So the chances of altcoins being at the bottom in the Bitcoin value seems quite likely in the coming period, in which it seems also very likely that we're going to have another wave afterwards, in which, for instance, Ethereum is going to release many new stuff in the coming period, as that could generate new hype, new money towards the project, new hype with Ethereum 2.0. But first of all, the project should be releasing those updates, and the sentiment on Bitcoin has to switch. But once the sentiment on Bitcoin is flipping, or at least it's temporarily bottomed out, you will see that altcoins are starting to heat up as well, because they are very correlated to Bitcoin. And once Bitcoin is bottomed out and doesn't really have a new impulse wave, which usually comes when you are above an all-time high again. Right now we are not in that phase. We've seen it in 2016 and 2017, where Bitcoin corrects, then consolidates, goes sideways, and that's the moment that altcoins will start kicking off once again. And some of them are already waking up nicely, other ones are still eager to make a breaker at this stage. What we can see with Ethereum is that we've had a very nice impulse wave too. And you know from me that you shouldn't be entering Ethereum or any asset that's going vertical. So this entire region around 0.6 was my first point of interest. And if you took that entry, you're down around 6 to 7% on your entry, and you've already experienced a pretty heavy bounce. The next levels, if we lose this blue zone, as we discussed yesterday, is this range around 0.5 and 0.45. And even if we go to 0.45, the trend can still remain bullish, as we are creating higher lows, higher highs in general. Therefore, the cycle of bullishness is still happening at this case. And we can see that in 2016, we've had several of those periods too. Heavy correction, afterwards another impulse wave. 2017, we've had a similar case. Impulse wave at the first start, consolidation, another impulse wave at a later stage in the year, and then we've got the heavy correction because Bitcoin started to run significantly. So at this stage you can see that we're currently having such a consolidative period, and we've got some critical levels for Ethereum on the upside to break. The first one is 0.6 Bitcoin and 0.63 Bitcoin. These two have to crack. If that happens, we most likely go to 0.676, and probably even around this range again, and then we're getting compression in this entire structure, in which we might be getting a constructive wedge structure that might be breaking out to the upside, and then you get a new impulse wave as our OG Bollinger Bands, those are squeezing, and then you get that big impulse wave breakout. But for that we have to crack some levels. If we lose the blue zone, these are the two ones that I'm very much interested in. But once we look at Cardano, we can see that we are bouncing back from a very small support zone. So we've bounced back from a level that around 3,500 sats, and if we zoom out, it is still in a bullish structure, in which we can see that the previous high is still holding as support. We are still making higher lows, higher highs, and therefore granting ourselves bullish continuation. So if Cardano is going to have support around this range here, holds there, it doesn't seem unlikely that we go to 45 again, and then it doesn't even seem unlikely that we're going to have a new bullish breakout towards new impulse waves, in which the structure starts to look a lot like the period that we have here. So it's not looking too bad for altcoins, but if you have been investing in coins like Dent, then you have seen that you have experienced a small bubble, because everyone was heavily interested in Dent around this period that it started to accelerate heavily, because everyone saw huge green candles. But when you really get interested into altcoins, the only interesting points you can see is this one around the block that we have here, and then second, the block that we have here around those previous highs. So these 3 points are your points of interest or points of interest in general. And right now you can see that we've had some very nice bounces from those lows, because in the end trading is about percentages. You have already experienced the 2x, and right now we can still see that we are making lower highs, lower lows. So what you want to have with Dent is you can already enter the long based on this previous high. If we do make this bouncer back up, most likely we have to flip this previous zone for support. Then we generate a higher low, we get back into the range, the moving average start waking up, and a new cycle can start. And then you can start targeting those highs. Very easy to approach, but if something like this goes heavily to the upside, you should avoid entering it at all costs. Same with Verasity. Verasity also made this downwards move, and I even shared a chart in which I was looking around entries at this point, or even about at the previous high around a cent. We can also see some charts from me on Twitter where I said that this is the critical breaker for bullishness. I'd love to have a breakthrough here, but we couldn't, therefore we are granting ourselves lower highs, lower lows. Right now the same picture is here. We might be getting another test of this green zone, but overall if we do make this breaker in which we flip back above 1.25 to 1.5, so this entire region, if we flip that, that's the chances that we're bottoming out here as we are making higher lows, higher highs. But as a general conclusion, if you are not interested in altcoins right now, I think you should be getting interested in them, because if Bitcoin is getting bottomed out and starts consolidating, they'll be waking up too. But it takes time. So therefore you get some of those critical breakers that you should be looking at if you want to enter those. Then second, what should you be doing with your altcoins if you're still holding them? I think the idea of selling them is gone right now. But if you've got 40 altcoins, for instance, in your portfolio, it's time to evaluate what you have been doing and to structure it well again. Because in the end, it's all about your own portfolio. I'll be back next week with new updates. Coming days, I'll be enjoying some offline time. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see each other next week. Don't forget to subscribe.